There we go. That is the last 3 of the holes that I'm going to need to add the can lights that they're wanting to add in around this soffit. I didn't record the others because it's just really hot out here, and I didn't want my camera getting heated up like that for that long. So figured I'd give y'all one shot of doing it. This is a aluminum soffit that's up here, and basically when I was doing my measurements, I would find a roughly close to center, because you're not gonna be able to tell if it's completely center, and then I would adjust it so that it would be either in the center of a ridge or the center of a valley in between the ridges on it. So should look good. We basically got 3, 6, and then 9 over here across the front of the house. This one, again, we had the long side here where I did 3, and then we have basically a little cut up octagon area. So I lined them up with the porch. So actually I think it's 6. But what we'll have to do is we'll have to take this one down and to be able to get the wire from there over to these ones. And I'm not going to do that today. I'll probably do that first thing in the morning because, again, it's very hot and I don't feel like going up in the attic when it's super hot out. But we got all the holes drilled and ready, so should be good to go first thing in the morning. But I'm just going to continue this video tomorrow morning with that. So see you in a little bit. All right, so we've got all the wires ran, which was the hard part for this, especially this whole area here. So the other areas weren't too bad. It is a little bit tight, but with using these glow rods that I was using, the long green one here and the long orange one here, I was able to basically get way away from the edge of the roof so I could grab them pretty easily. Still had to, a little bit of trouble maneuvering around there, especially on top of ceiling joists, because there is no, of course, down, there is no plywood there. I say the main thing that was really difficult around here is the fact that pretty much from right here to here, it is very tight up there, extremely tight. Like I could barely, because this is framed up back here, there's a small hole that goes from here into here. I had to like snake up underneath it to come across. And then up here where this one is, there is no attic above here because there's a vaulted ceiling in there that follows the roof line. So with that one, that's where you'll see I used that fishing drill bit, and I had to drill through 2 rafters to get into this area, which the drilling the first one's pretty easy, but drilling that second one, you've got to be really careful how you drill, because you can easily, at that point, because you can't guide the bit as easily, you can easily come out up above or down below, somewhere where you don't want to. So it definitely takes practice. I've used it a lot and gotten really good with it, but it is definitely very difficult to work with. So that's why I tied 2 wires onto this one instead of just one, because once I tied the one and went up and was going to run it over here, and then I seen how difficult it was, how difficult it's going to be to get this, then I had to back up and change my plan. So I tied 2 on here because I also used that fishing bit to drill over 1 rafter on this one. The reason being is because the way that this hip coming down is framed, I couldn't really get over tight enough, so I needed to go over 1 rafter. It wasn't a big deal for 1. That's pretty easy to drill. You could probably use a regular drill bit for that, but I had that thing that I needed for the other one anyways. But with that, with the having to drill through there like that, I went ahead and hooked 2 up, ran it in, and then switched both ways. So got it all done after when I crawled in there, at least in 1 shot, which was a whole lot better, because that give you a headache even just getting in that tight of an area, especially in this heat. So up inside an attic. But all the wires are ran, so now we can wire up the actual lights, which will be fairly easy to do at this point. All right, now, so first thing with these lights is going to be getting them ready before we put them up. Just less work above your head that way. I've already installed all 9 of the ones that were on the front. I did that off camera just due to the heat and the fact that it's not going to be any different than what you're going to see back here. So I'll take the box apart. You don't have to, but in my experience it's a lot easier. That way you're not have to scratch the light if it's swinging around while you're trying to make the box up. So out here we were using it, when we did all that, we come up with 14 lights. So I just bought a 12 pack and then I bought 2 singles. Usually you can get these in a 12 pack, a 4 pack, a 6 pack, and pretty much in multiples of even numbers going up through. So, like I said, so I'm just going to take out all the boxes, and then doesn't really particularly matter if you bring the wire in here, here, or here. Generally the way that I'm going to do it. Now, if you're putting this in a rough-in ceiling, you're going to actually mount this box with these 2 screws to the joist and leave it up there for after sheetrock's in place. But when you're doing a rough-in situation like this, these boxes are allowed to just be pushed up in the ceiling and sit there. So that's what we'll be doing in this case. They give you these little tiny wire nuts. I don't like them. In my opinion, they're too small for a number 14 and their wire. I mean, it would work, but it's not going to give you much grab. And I'd rather have more. Inside it, right here, is the color that you're going to want. You just got to decide which one you want and then select that on all of them. We're setting these at 3500 Kelvin, and that is because that is what the original lights were set on. That was the color that the homeowner chose. So it's going to be have a slight yellowish tint to it, but not quite as yellow as an old school incandescent light. Which, believe it or not, are actually coming back now. Which, in my opinion, does add a nice little nostalgic effect with the lighting. You can get maybe somewhat close if you set the lighting on your can lights, the LED. If you set the color, you can get somewhat close, but it's never going to be the same as the actual old school, where you can see the filament and the filament burning versus that light that just gets distributed throughout the entire light fixture itself. It's not quite the same. I will save these wire nuts though. I'm not going to throw them away because these are actually some of them, these little orange wire nuts that they send will have plastic inserts. These are actually some decent ones that I will save, but I'll use them for like low voltage wiring at some point if I need to, because it works just fine for that. Like small little wires that are like 18 gauge or smaller. Okay, so the next thing is, doesn't matter which side, however, because of the fact that you're making this up and then shoving it into a ceiling, I find it's best to come the opposite side of the pigtail, because you can make it up, push the box up in, and still have this pigtail hanging out to hook the light up to. So that's what I'm going to do, is simply do the knockout on the side opposite of the wire. Next thing, I find with these, in my opinion, because of how thin this metal is, it's better to use an actual old style metal Romex connector. It adds a little bit of strength when you put the wire in. I actually very rarely use, here's one, these plastic versions. Usually the only time I will use those at all is maybe at a panel, because a panel usually has real sturdy metal where it's going in, so I'm not worried about it not having a good tight effect. First thing I'm going to do is just straighten the wires out. Just makes it easier to work with if it's all nice and straight and neat. Now I'm going to push them in through the connector. I'm going to line them up with each other so that they're both even, or at least fairly close. Pull it out a little pad. You're supposed to have 8 inches from where it enters the box. These are small boxes, but there's plenty of room for that. Then you're just going to tighten down the screws till it's snug. When you start feeling a little bit of pressure, they should be good. You don't want to over tighten those or you're going to pinch the wires and probably break the sheathing on the neutral and hot wire, making them touch the ground. Make it nice and neat. I'm going to lightly twist the wires that are the same, so like the grounds, neutrals, hots. I'm going to lightly twist them together. Then I'm going to take off just enough to make sure that they're both flush with each other. When you hook up a stranded wire with a solid, two solid wires, or even just one solid wire, you're going to want it to stick past like an 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch or more. Somewhere between an 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch past the two solid wires. That way the wire nut will grab it and hold it up there with the two. If you do it dead even with them, it has a tendency for the wire nut to just push it out without grabbing it, especially when it's way smaller, because the other wires around the smaller one will basically enlarge the spring slightly to where it just can't make contact with it. But if you push the wire just slightly past them, that will remedy that issue. Close it up, and then you can just shove the wires up in there. Like I say, now the pigtail's there. While the box is out the way, they'll just connect it and then slide the light up in. There we go. All right, there we go. That's all done. All of the can lights are hooked up and ready to go. The hardest part about that, of course, was getting the wires in place. Sometimes in like a newer home that has like a truss style rafters and roof system, you can run it, snake it through the eaves. In this one, this is an old house that was stick built and has like 2x10 rafters in a lot of places, if not 2x8. So couldn't really snake it down that edge of the eaves, had to actually go up in the attic, run it into the attic, down, and then back out, which was a little bit difficult, especially near the rear porch area where the last light that we put in was at. Right there was really a pain because you had one, two, three, you had four different roof lines all coming in together, and the way that the framing has to be up there to support all four of those roof lines joining. Made it really tight to get to, really difficult to do. But at least we got it done and can move on to the next thing. So hope you enjoyed watching. I'll see you the next time.